Okay, so apparently we can't even go to parades anymore to celebrate football teams winning Super Bowls without some douchebag shooting it up. And as unfortunate as this is, and as sad as it is, I'm not even surprised anymore, which is a real shame. A couple days ago, the Kansas City Chiefs had their Super Bowl parade, and everything was going well until someone or some people started shooting at other people for whatever freaking reason. I think it's been a little bit more specified, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. But it's unfortunate because people can't even go to school, church, the store, and now parades to celebrate football teams winning Super Bowls without the possibility of someone there with a gun who might shoot people. Now, before I say anything else, rest in peace to Lisa Lopez Galvin. She was a mother of two, and that absolutely breaks my heart because my mother is my best friend. So I couldn't even begin to imagine the pain that people who lose their mothers go through, especially in a situation like this where it was highly preventable, but because some assholes were, I guess, out for the day and they were off their leash, so to speak. Well, now she's no longer with us, and that absolutely breaks my heart. And on top of that, like 20 more people were injured as a result of this situation. So my heart goes to them as well. Now, here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to argue, is it guns? Is it people? The argument is pointless, right? Because it could be a combination of both, right? The divided nature of the argument is a political tool to make sure that Republicans have a dedicated group of people that they can rely on to vote for them, especially when it comes to issues pertaining to guns. And then Democrats, they do the exact same. They want to make sure that they have a base that they can rely on, right? Republicans and people on the right, it's almost always mental health. We have a mental health issue in this country, which we do. And that crazy people are getting a hold of guns and they're killing people because guns are not living things. Therefore, we should focus on the state of mind of the people wielding the guns. And then Democrats are people on the left. Talking point's always the same. There's a bajillion guns in this country, which there is. And then they want to restrict the type of guns that can be sold. They want to increase the difficulty to purchase a gun, etc. Regardless of any validity in either of those arguments, they're pointless because we go in the same circle every single time. Something like this happens. People begin to have those conversations. Politicians weigh in as if they're going to do something about it. And I don't know, maybe 3 days later, everybody forgets about it, especially if there's a certain aspect in there that I'll get to in a second. So to even have that conversation, it feels futile because we know, or at least we should know, that politicians are not going to do anything about it. They're just not. Now, you can't eradicate evil all the way 100%, right? Because it's just a bunch of people who just want to do bad. But you can do something about it. They will do nothing about it. You know who can do something about it? Us, right? People who are not politicians, who live life as the average everyday person in this country. We can do something about it on a cultural level. And this exists in twofold. Number one, I was looking on a bunch of streaming services that I have. I was looking for something to watch, and I was just going through. And one after another, whether it was a movie or a TV show, was somebody on the front cover with a gun, wielding it to like save the planet or to do something really, really bad. I'm not opposed to guns. I've shot guns before. I don't really have a problem with them if they're used in a legal manner. But the irony in this is you got all these self-proclaimed thought leaders, celebrities, movie stars, music stars, all these people coming out trying to spit game on gun control or assert the direction they feel the country should move in. Yet everywhere you look is something about a freaking gun. Now, I'm not saying seeing a movie poster or something in a song or a game or anything like that makes you go shoot people with guns. I grew up playing Call of Duty and I ain't shot nobody, so I think we're good on that front. But there's obviously a correlation to it being everywhere and people not being taught how to properly use them and handle them at that same scale. People don't know how to handle them on a physical level. People don't know how to handle their emotions, so when they have them, then they just start shooting people because they're pissed off at something. Well, now all hell breaks loose. And everywhere you look, it's a gun here, a gun there, and then you got all these people coming out the woodworks. Guns are bad. I can't believe this, that, and the third. Alec Baldwin. Bro's like the biggest anti-gun advocate ever, yet shot and killed somebody on his set. So if it's going to be something that is going to be ingrained in our culture, in our society, well, then people need to learn the ins and outs of them like it's nobody's business. But that's not happening. There's no initiative to get that done, because if you fix the problem or at least address it to some degree, well, that's one less issue that politicians can use to campaign on. And that's not good for them. So we're just not going to do anything about it. The second layer of this is who did it, right? Now, I want you to watch this video. I'm not going to say anything before you see it, right? I'm not going to say anything about the people involved or who said what. I'm going to just play it, and then I'll give you my 2 cents about it.
I mean, we don't know who did this shooting, by the way, the Super Bowl shooting.
We have some idea.
What?
If it were a white man shooting, we'd know.
Well, we don't know. But they haven't.
That's how we know it's not a white man. I can tell you that much.
You think they were repressing that reporting?
They wouldn't tell us about the transgender woman that shot up the Christian school for what, like a year? San Bernardino out here. Remember the crazy terrorist Muslims? That's when I first noticed, they're not telling us who it is. It's not a white male. The longer they go without telling you, it's not a white male.
Okay, well, for this one, for right now, as of Friday night, February 16th.
We know.
We don't officially know. Okay, you have special powers.
Okay, you've seen that. Now, just look at a few. Just a few, right? There's a whole bunch more like these, but just look at a few headlines regarding this situation. 2 juveniles charged in mass shooting at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade. 2 teenagers charged in connection to Kansas City Super Bowl rally shooting. 2 juveniles charged in Kansas City Chiefs parade shooting, court says. Now, in all fairness, this happened in Missouri. So because they're juveniles, they're not going to give up their names, specific ages, anything like that. But of every single video that I've seen, I saw a video of one of the guys getting tackled. I've seen still shots of people recording right before and then right after, and they've all been African American. And here's my frustration with what is going on right now. Is everyone's trying to pretend like they don't know what's going on, that there's no info out there, all this stuff. I feel like we know everything, right? We know exactly what happened. Now we know that there was an altercation and then people started shooting. It's like we know everything, but they just won't say who it is or the skin color or anything like that. Now, the skin color doesn't necessarily matter, or it shouldn't at least. Now, I know people are not the biggest fan of Ann Coulter, and I'm not playing this video because she's the new greatest thought leader. Not at all. But she's saying what a lot of people want to say. They just don't have the balls to say it. And she's white, so she's going to get dragged for it, right? I'm black, so I feel as though I can say it and be able to kind of brush anything off that comes with it, which is the weirdest thing ever, but it is what it is. But if the shooters were white, especially white men, it does not matter which freaking state this was in. It doesn't matter what laws or regulations they have to abide by. It'd be plastered everywhere. Every celebrity, every athlete would be tweeting about it, denouncing white supremacy, this, that, and the third. And I don't bring this up because the concept of race is so important in these situations. I bring it up because these people subconsciously use race to determine how they're going to report on it or how they're going to handle the situation. And that's what pisses me off, because not every situation gets its just due, right? And how can it? It's February, so it's Black History Month. We've been oppressed for the past 200-something years or whatnot. So anything that happens now, when it involves minorities, especially us African Americans, we got to handle it in a real delicate way. I cannot stand that for the life of me, because at the end of the day, a woman was killed and then 20 people were injured because a couple of people decided to come to this parade with guns and shoot each other, and then a bunch of other people. So when I circle back to the cultural aspect of it, I once again find myself in the exact same position that I'm always in, which is addressing the culture of us, right? Because let's just take all these reports at their word, that these kids, these teenagers got into an altercation and start shooting each other and then start blicking up a bunch of other people. You know what that's called? It's called a grade A nigga moment.
Watch where you walking, nigga. Hey, what you say, nigga?
Watch closely. You're about to experience a nigga moment. Webster defines the nigga moment as a moment when ignorance overwhelms the mind of an otherwise logical Negro male.
What did you say, bitch, nigga? Hey, squeeze it, nigga.
Causing him to act in an illogical, self-destructive manner, i.e., like a nigga. nigga moments are unpredictable.
And I wish I was joking, but it's the truest thing ever, right? It 100% is. It's from a cultural aspect. Everywhere you look, I shot at his mama so he don't mention me. Like, I don't know how much more obvious it is that something needs to change within us, right? And I'm not just hating on people. The celebrities, the rappers, the singers, the movie stars, they're all talented, right? But the vast majority of these people do not care about the residual effects of what it is that they put out into the world, because they're getting paid. They're getting paid. So religiously supporting these people, despite the fact that they do not care. Once they make it out, so to speak, they get their money, they get their fame, they're going to keep doing what's popular. And what's popular is dumping a bunch of filth into this community via movies, music, entertainment. Despite how good it sounds, despite how popular and how talented they may be, it doesn't take away from the fact that everyone else who's consuming it is getting screwed like it's nobody's business. And it's ironic, because I'll go on Twitter, I look at reports, what the media is saying, and I notice about the same trend each time something like this happens, where it's a shooting, right, where some heinous crime has happened, and it's a black person or some other minority who is at the helm of that crime. And the general consensus is, oh, well, race doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Then as soon as it's a white person, it's white supremacy, left, right, and center. And sometimes people don't even wait to verify what the situation is. I remember a few years back where some dude shot up a grocery store, and Kamala Harris's niece came out like 5 seconds after it occurred and started tweeting, white supremacy, I cannot believe that this is happening right now, X, Y, and Z. She doesn't care about the shooting. She doesn't care about what happened to the people. Now, she's trying to get political brownie points for her aunt so she can gain some ground with her base. And it turns out the guy who shot up their grocery store wasn't even white. So instead of retracting the statement, she tries to double down on it as if she wasn't wrong. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Right? A bunch of people just die, yet you care about politicking this whole situation up. And it's the exact same thing here. The intentionality of the selective and delegate reporting when it comes to situations like this that involve minorities, especially us African Americans, it is the most frustrating thing ever. Because we know good and well that if the perp or perps were white, that this would be everywhere. And as it should. If something like this happens, you should be pissed off and outraged about it, and you should want something done. But it shouldn't be contingent upon if the person who pulled the trigger has no melanin in their freaking skin. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But when I see stuff like this, I feel like I'm going crazy, because I'm like, are people actually grasping the concept that someone has died and that other people were injured, especially children? So I know it happens quite often, so it's easy to become numb to it. But this is getting ridiculous. Because even when this happened, I didn't want to immediately say something about it the day of. I wanted to give it a few days to let the dust settle, to see if the reporting over the course of 3 or 4 days and a few days a week would be at the same level. And it's not even close. After day one, it fell off. Yes, there's still articles coming out and reports, but you can feel when a story or some situation is at the helm of society like it's nobody's business. Once again, just turn back the clock 4 years ago, go back to 2020, right? When the George Floyd situation occurred, that reaction was felt for the rest of the year. And then some, right? All the way up until the trial. So people want to play these underhand politic games when it comes to situations like this. That's nuts. And you don't have to like that white lady and anything else that she says, but she's low-key not wrong. She's white, so she can't really say it, and people take her serious. They're just going to call her racist, right? You got Van Jones, a black guy next to her, sitting there laughing, right? He laughing because he's like, oh, my goodness, I can't believe you say that. And everybody in the audience is like, you know, they're trying to figure out how to react. But she ain't lying, right? But that's the type of laugh you do when you don't have a reaction. Because you don't. Because you know it's some merit to it. So it's unfortunate when this stuff happens. And there's so many different explanations as to who, what, when, where, why, or how. But I always come back to the same conclusion is we can do something about it. And I'm not just talking about black people anymore, just people in general, right? America, we as a country can do things about it, right? In terms of mental health awareness, because that's a serious thing now, as well as gun safety and literacy and anything else, literally anything else. Because guess what? We can't rely on the government to do anything, despite the fact that they could and they should, but they won't. So we don't focus on them at all, right? It's pointless because they're useless. It's as simple as that. So my heart is with these people, and I am praying for anyone who was affected by this, because it is so unfortunate. And people shouldn't flood their psyche with so much bad news, but at the same time, it shouldn't get to a point where we feel like this is normal and that we become numb to it. And then when it happens, it's just like, that's just us. That's just what we do. It should not get to that point. People have to be angry about this, regardless of who does it, and regardless of what they look like, regardless of what skin color they are, regardless of anything. These are people at the end of the day who are being hurt, who are losing their lives. That's something to be mad about. And that's definitely something to think about.